As Narendra Modi said, that our constitution is a ray of hope. H for harmony, O for opportunity, P for people's participation, and E for equality. I hope that you also abide by the same. And if you do, you have come to the right place. So hello and welcome. This is your host Himanshu Kaushik, and I sincerely and warmly welcome you in today's session on the Constitution of India, the Guide to Governance. And before we know a lot more about the topic, and we have a lot of discussion on the Constitution, I am hoping that you all are doing very much fine, good, sound, happy, and healthy at wherever you're taking this session from. So for the discussion that we're going to have today in the session, we are having our expert who have joined us. Please welcome Dr. Minarul Biswas. He is an assistant professor from political science in lovely professional university. He is a PhD scholar from Jamia Millia Islamia and has been a recipient of Junior Research Fellowship of University Grants Commission. He has his membership in Bengal Institute of Political Studies and Indian Political Science Association as well. He has been a part of various national and international conferences already and has participated in a number of capacity building programs by now. His special interests include, or maybe we can say conclude, at Indian administration and international relations, and he has been teaching students since 2016 now and has multiple publications under his name. So, sir, it is again, I welcome you in the session, and it is an honor to be able to listen you and know more about the Constitution. The topic is, I think it is very common, yet very interesting topic. So, sir, I now would want to request you to please take over the screen, sir, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Himanshi ma'am. It's a pleasure to talk to the students, those who are very much interested to know about the Constitution of India. And, you know, very rightly, I have decided the title, the Constitution of India, the Guide to Governance. So thank you, ma'am, once again, and I welcome all the participants. You know, from the title itself, we can understand how important a constitution is. And, you know, that is why, you know, it is simply like a guide to governance. And, you know, it's a guide, it's a, you know, guiding principle, it's a guiding document, which is very significant for governing any society. And, you know, this, you know, for those who are, I mean, here joined this session, just who might have known this thing, but again, so this is the Government of India website given in the screen. So from where you can get the Constitution, the authentic version of Indian Constitution in all the languages, you know, all Indian languages almost. You can get it in English, Marathi, Hindi, Bengali, Assami, and all, you know, in different languages. The copy of the Constitution that is available in this Government of India website. So you can get it. So to start with, you know, just to understand this. Madam, the screen is not moving.
Okay, just a minute, sir. Sir, try through navigating buttons. Is it happening?
No, actually, I'm not getting important drivers. I call them as drivers. I basically have used this term drivers, important drivers. All of these things, you know, this liberty, you know, freedom of expression, you know, all these things, they have been. So those are the, I mean, the gist in Indian Constitution, the preamble. But then is how those are to be maintained. So for this, there are different drivers, there are different provisions. One of them is fundamental rights, as you know, that in part 3 of Indian Constitution, the fundamental rights have been discussed between Article 12 to 35. As I was talking about, that liberty of thought expression, that equality of status and opportunity, that, you know, the right against exploitation. So all these values are basically protected through these fundamental rights. So this is just a fact, just for information, as you know, that this has been inspired by the Bill of Rights of the USA. And this is why it is fundamental rights. It is fundamental rights in the sense it is very much crucial for the development of an individual citizen. And in other words, these are very much important. These are very much fundamental. If we really want to establish that republic, that democracy in the country, because until and unless the fundamental rights are given to the people, which will be protected by the judiciary, so there may be the concept of liberty, the concept of freedom of expression. So they may not, they will sound hollow. I mean, there will be no meaning of that until and unless there is a proper mechanism, specified in these different rights. So that is why the fundamental rights. So these are very much important. Right to equality, right to, as telling you that an individual is free to practice his or her religion. So there is right to freedom of religion. So there are, under these fundamental rights, there are different rights. There are 6 rights which ensures the liberty of the citizens of India, which ensures that discrimination will not be there, which ensures that equality will be ensured. There, it will ensure that there will be equality of status and all. So these are justiciable. It means that as the Constitution has given them as fundamental rights of the people, if the government of the day violates any of these rights, so then the people can directly go to the court, so that for the redressal. But at the same time, so these are not absolute. For example, it is very easy to understand that that liberty is important. Freedom of expression is important. It is very much important for an individual, for his individual development, and it is important for different reasons. For example, I have an idea. If you don't allow me to express that idea, so I think I am not able to, develop the idea. Secondly, that the idea which I am having, maybe that is helpful for the society, for the people. So only when I can express, then only that will help the society. Suppose the government of the day is doing something wrong, until and unless you give me the right to express, means if you don't give me the right to criticize, obviously the same wrong may be perpetuated, and that will be harmful for the society. So that is why, for again, I'm talking about for the individual development, for the sake of the society, for a democratic government, we need this fundamental right. But at the same time, these are not absolute, and it should not be absolute. Why is it so? See, I have freedom of expression. It does not mean that I can say whimsically whatever I wish. So that is why in the articles under fundamental rights, when the fundamental rights have been given to the citizens of India, some rights to the non-citizens also. At the same time, it has been specified that for the sake of morality, for the sake of public law and order, for the sake of public decency, because that humans, we are humans, we are not beasts, we are not animals, we are social beings. We need to respect others. I have the freedom of expression. It does not mean that I will always express myself to hurt you. In that context, again, that existence or living together, that is not possible. So that is why, for the sake of public order, morality, public decency, so this, at the same time, the limitations have been imposed as far as fundamental rights are concerned. Then fundamental duties, as we as you know that in part 4A, that fundamental duties have been in Article 51A, these fundamental duties have been incorporated. And basically, in the original constitution, it was not there. By 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, so these fundamental duties have been added. And these are non-justiciable in nature. It means the courts cannot enforce it. Okay. But at the same time, these are very much important, reciprocal to fundamental rights. Why is it so? See, if we really want that I should have some freedom to express, I should have the freedom to practice my religion. So at the same time, we need to follow certain duties to our fellow citizens. So this you can say, if we are more concerned about our rights, but the problem is we don't give much importance to the fundamental duties. If we really want more democratic, peaceful, society where everyone can coexist with each other without much conflict, then it is very much important to be sensitive to the others. Okay, so we demand that the state will ensure our rights, but at the same time, then we have some duties towards the states, okay, towards the government. So that is why if we really talk about, I'm not again going into those articles and all, I'm simply sharing the ideas behind why it is important and some of my thoughts. Then separation of powers. Again, we need a unified nation, a society with less conflict, democratic society where none of the organs, where none of the people running the government will become, too much powerful. Because, if the people in the government or, in any institution, if there is no check and balance, if there is no check, so there is a, chance, again, there is a risk of excesses being done by those individuals. So that is why we talk about separation of powers. So when we talk about separation of powers, that is, it simply talks about the distribution of powers amongst the different organs of the state. And as you know, there are 3 different organs of the state, that is executive, judiciary, and legislature. Executive, that is the government, then judiciary and the legislature. And as you know that executive, so their main function is running the administration, day-to-day administration, executing the policies, rules, and regulations, implementing. And then, so there is another body, that is legislature, for lawmaking. So in the state, so again, the constitution is specifying that, see, for running the society, different activities have to be done. So we need to make some laws for the society. For that, there is legislature. So it is the function of the legislature to make the laws. And the laws are, once the laws are made, so then it is the responsibility of the executive to implement, to execute those laws and regulations in the right spirit, so that actually those laws and rules and regulations actually helps the people. And then there is judiciary. As you know, the guide is there, the constitution is there. Now, when the legislature is making the law, whether this lawmaking, whether this legislature is performing the duty of lawmaking as per the constitution. So to see that there is judiciary. Okay, that is one thing. Secondly, if the rights of the people are violated, if the people have some grievances against the government, then where they will go? So they will go to the judiciary. So we have the laws to be made by the legislature for the society. We have the executive for utilizing those policies for the actual benefit of the people, and to act as a watchdog, you can say, there is judiciary. Or to interpret the laws made by the legislature, there is judiciary. So there are different, as you can understand, there is distribution of powers. One is lawmaking, and one is making of law, another is execution of law, and third is interpreting the law. Okay, and until and unless you can understand, if all these three kinds of powers are concentrated in one organ, so there is a chance of excess, risk of excess by any of the organs. And in that context, so the people's rights that will be violated. So again, the governance will not be fulfilled. Then there is division of powers and federal structures. Again, India is a big country, that it is a big country population-wise, area-wise. So that is why, again, the constitution makers have anticipated this thing. If we really want effective governance, good governance, so it is not possible that from one center of power to take care of the entire Indian society. Because again, that in India, as it is, large society, the different states, the different regions have different problems. They might have different cultures. They have a different, necessities. So that is why, as we have a central government, at the same time, there is a state government. And then, as you know, that through 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, there is local government. So one is separation of power, another is division of power. So when we talk about division of power, it is the divisions of power amongst the different layers. Central government, that is union government at the central level, state government at the provincial level, and at the local government at the local level. As you know, the Panchayati Raj institution, the municipalities, the panchayats and all. And this, again, the constitution has specified that which are the items on which of this organ can make, have the powers. So in that context, there are different lists: central list, state list, and concurrent list. Central list includes those items where the central government can exclusively make, have the powers. State list, the state government have the powers, and concurrent list, as you can understand. So these are the subjects item in which both the central government and state government have powers. Then if we really talk about federal structure of India, so there is a question that India is really a federal structure. India is, whether India can be a federal state or not. If we really talk about that, whether India is an ideal federal state, answer is no. India is not an ideal federal state. What I mean to say, that when the division of power has been maintained, when the state government has been given some powers, the local government has been given some powers, but there are some overarching powers by the central government. Okay, say for example, there is Supreme Court at the central level, so there is no Supreme Court at the state level. There is one citizenship, that Indian citizenship. There is no citizenship for Punjab or West Bengal or any other state. So single citizenship. Okay, single integrated judiciary. As you can understand, there is a Ministry of Defense at the central level, but there is no Ministry of Defense at the state level. So when we talk about divisions of power, it is not that all the powers have been divided. Some powers have been given to the state, some powers have been given to the local government. It is not the absolute divisions. So that is why, that India, because when we talk about ideal federal state, it means there will be equal divisions between the different layers. But if we really talk about divisions of power in India, it is not equal divisions. For example, Indian Administrative Service, as you know, the IS officers, the IPS officers, they are recruited by the central government, but they are given to the state government. So those IS officers, IPS officers, they are working for the state government, but their controlling authority is the central government. It is not the equal divisions. State has not been given the absolute hand. So that is why it is, when we talk about federal structure of India, so it is not an ideal federal state. Mostly it is called quasi-federal state. Basically, K.C. Wire has used this term, quasi-federal or semi-federal state. That some powers have been given to the state government, local government, but ultimately ultimate control lies in the central government. So there are different reasons for this, why it is a federal state. I think that discussion, I don't think that there is much time to go into that details. But then again, so there is a criticism by different state government that many times the central government is usurping their powers. Okay, so state government many times complain that it is the central government which is imposing on the state government. So that is whenever federal structure. Now, as first of all, the constitution itself has not made that absolute division or equal division. So that is one thing. Second problem is when there is a different government in the central level. So it depends on them also. Some central, some government by some political parties at the center, so they might be more interested to give some upper hand to the liberty to the state, and some government will not be interested. So that is why, and there are many issues involved in that. For example, if there are different political parties at the central level and the state level. So the central government, as it is run by different political party, which is different from the political party which is running state government. So many times the central government has a stepmotherly treatment to the state government. So there are different issues regarding these divisions of power and federal structures also. Directive principles of state policy in part 4 between articles 36 to 51, Indian Constitution has specified, and this has been inspired by Constitution of Ireland. Again, this is non-justiciable in nature. It means it is different from fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, if they are violated, you can directly go to the courts and people get their redress. But in case of directive principles, it is not. But then it is very much important. Why it is important? Again, I'm talking about that governance, constitution, that is guide to governance. Basically, from the term itself, you can understand directive principles. So these are basically the directions given to the state. These are the directions given to the governments, that these directions have to be kept in mind when the government will run the society. So these are in the forms of directions in the nature of directions. Now, challenges. Basically, as I told you, that constitution is a guide to governance. It is a guide to the society also. So that is why I understand the problems which the society is facing, or the problems which are emanating from society are also the challenges to the constitution. But to be more specific, you can say that, as you can remember, those guiding principles, that equality, liberty, democracy. When there is divisions, when there is communalism, when there is a casteism, when we are dividing the people on the basis of caste, so there is a concept of equality. When the society, when there is a communal violence, our constitution is saying that everyone is free to practice the religion of his or her choice. But then in practice, we can see the communal violence. We are fighting with each other. People are fighting against each other. So I think this is, the challenges on the constitutional values. Criminalization of politics. See, all these, as I told you, that democracy, that everyone will have the equal right to vote and to be elected. But you can understand when the politics is getting criminalized. Sometimes I say, that may not be exactly the case, but sometimes it seems that democracy, instead of becoming of the people, for the people, and by the people. Again, I'm repeating that I'm not saying that all the politicians are criminals. It is not. But still, there are criminal elements who are entering into politics, who are entering into legislature. And when by criminalizing the politics, when the criminal elements, the people with criminal background, in fact, the criminals, when by entering politics, is entering into legislature. So obviously, the law making, you can say, that can be under it. Politicization of administration. That the government is to treat all the individuals equally. And as you know, when we talk about that, as I told you, the lawmaking, that is one thing. But when you are implementing the laws, okay, so it should be when the bureaucrats are implementing the laws or executing the laws, or in fact, the ministers are distributing the benefits of some schemes, they must keep in mind the people as a whole, Indian citizens. But what is happening? That suppose if you belong to a different political party, different from the political party which is in power, so you may be, you are partially treated. Discrimination is being done against you. So this politicization of administration, if that is there, so obviously those ideals, liberty, and democracy in the true sense, so that cannot be possible. That the justice that is not possible if there is a politicization of administration. Then I'll say then why it is happening. So the root cause can be understood as poverty, illiteracy. When the people are poor, when the people are illiterate, so it is they are very much prone to these, different temptations by these criminal elements, by different divisive forces. We talk about democracy, but I can give you the examples. Democracy, that is, all the people will take part in election, all the people will vote without fear and favor. But what happens in actual election, you can find that many times the people are prevented from going to the polling station. Booth rigging, you can understand. So the people are not able to, just cast their vote independently. Okay, because many times the people are prevented from going to the polling station, and many times the people are intimidated. Suppose you want to vote a particular politician, if you want to vote for a particular political party, but you are intimidated. You are not allowed to do that. So where is the democracy? All these, when these are the things, when electoral violence. So it is the people who will decide who will be sitting in the power. But ultimately, it is the criminal elements, it is the communal elements, it is the violence which are ultimately deciding, the fate of democracy. And if that is the case, so all these constitutional values are under, challenge. I'll just simply by sharing my thoughts regarding way forward. I understand that only conscientious citizenry, that can be the solution. But yes, I understand it is very easy to say, but it's not that much easy to practice. Conscientious citizenry, that citizens have their own role to play. The citizens must be, again, I'm saying that it is easier to say, but until and unless that can be done, I think, these challenges cannot be addressed. So the people have to be, guided by their moral values, ethics, good behavior, basically very much important, because when there is a communal violence, when there is a mob lynching, it is the people. So, there is a need for sensitization. And this conscientious citizenry that can be ensured through a proper education by sensitizing the people that say, we are all Indians. If we really want a good governance in India, if we really want to practice the constitutional values, then we have certain duties. We have to behave responsibly. Okay. Another is bold and impartial media. So whenever there is a, that threats from different divisive forces, so the media, it is the responsibility of the media to impartially bring those facts to the fore. And thus, but again, the problem is, the media many times, as you know, that it is criticized, they are sold. So one media is supporting one house, other media is supporting, one media is supporting one political party, whereas other media are supporting other political parties. So they're biased. So bold and impartial media, that is very much important. Responsible politicians. But again, for the responsible politicians, we the individual citizens have certain roles. When we are electing the people, when we are electing our representatives, So we need to come out of our narrow interest, vested interest. Many times the people are selling their votes with 500, 1,000 rupees. And if that is the case, we cannot expect the responsible politicians. So the responsible individuals we need as responsible politicians who can really respect the constitutional values and who can really work on those grounds. And many times it is said that, before all kinds of reforms, it is very much important to have the educational reforms. So we need such an educational system, education, which, the holistic education, which can really inculcate the ethical values, which can really inculcate the moral values, which can really make our youngsters, our people as individual citizens. Okay, at the same time, as I told you, so all these ideas, good words, does not have any impact on the empty stomach. In that sense, it is very much important that we, as the society, we the people of India, as it is mentioned in the very preamble itself, we the people of India, we the society at large as a whole, we must ensure the livelihood to all. Everyone should have the basic minimum necessities fulfilled so that they can at first live as an individual, healthy individual, and then only all these, intellectual thinking or all these, thinking skill can grow, that what is right and what is wrong, what to do and what not to do. So all this does not have any impact on empty stomach. Again, I'm repeating. So that is why it is very much important that we, all the individuals, the government must ensure we need a society where everyone can live with their minimum basic needs. So I think I don't have much time. So I stop here. If anyone has any question, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, we're having question here, but before that, I just want to say thank you for coming in, joining us, and giving us all the information. And so, related to this last point that you were telling, this at the conclusion, that livelihood to all, we're having one question. Rather, it's kind of a statement that has been given from Tushar Sharma. So it says, according to one report, nearly 71% of Indians cannot afford a healthy diet. And as a result of that, many people have even died, and they do not have proper livelihood also. So I don't know where the question is, but it is just a fact. We can have a little discussion, maybe 1 or 2 minutes about the statement, sir.
Yes. Yes, I think the participant is very right. In fact, it simply talks about the poverty, one hand, inequality in the society. And I think already I have referred to that fact. Whatever I have said so far, all these principles, it sounds very nice, but as I already told you, this does not have any impact on the empty stomach. First of all, you need to have some food to live. You need some shelter over your head. You need some clothing to protect your body. So until and unless, that is what I'm saying, when you are hungry, so there is no question of, and that is a big challenge, as I told you. So that is why it's very easy to understand. Suppose you are not having any food, you are suffering from hunger, you are having the physical pain. So it is very easy to say that you should not sell your vote. When we tell the poor people that you should give the vote to the people who are deserving. First of all, suppose I need some minimum education, minimum knowledge to understand that which political party is good for me, which politician is good for me, which politician will work for my society. For understanding this, you need some minimum thinking skill, you need some minimum information. Okay, and until and unless you are, so first of all, if you talk about, there are different theories on this. First of all, our basic needs have to be fulfilled. The basic needs is food, clothing, and shelter. Then we go to the higher needs. So until and unless these basic needs are fulfilled, so there is no question of going to the point that to think over. First of all, I live again. I'm repeating. First of all, I have to live. Then the question come up thinking. Okay, that it will come to me what is right or what is wrong. And that is why my first concern is I have to live. So that is why during the election, the people say, suppose if you go to the people, say that you will give 1,000 rupees to that person, so he will accept or she will accept. Okay, I'll give you vote because that is my first priority. That by having that 1,000 rupees, I have to eat something. I have to, put on something.
So I'm very sorry that I'm cutting you in between, but I think the greed of money and the basic necessities money, I think there are two different things. So people are also misusing things because they have the greed of money, and there are people who actually need money, and hence it is the requirement. So we need to just keep these things separate, because in context of money, people do many things that are maybe not appropriate. So I think that the point that you were saying, I totally agree. I think, but the only thing that I think is the greed and the necessity are two different things, and you might probably live a little harder, but if you live with good ethics, I think that would be better.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely, you're right. But then again, I have mentioned that is I told you livelihood to all, that is minimum basic needs. So that is one of the concern. But in the very first point, I told you conscience. As you have mentioned, greed. So, if we actually, I have referred to that point, greed. You are absolutely right. And that is why I mentioned that I'm conscientious citizen, that you have the basic needs. So then you have the greed. And due to that greed, you are, involving yourself, indulging yourself in the malpractices. And again, as I told you, that educational reforms, why it is important, that at least, as you have mentioned, that to counter the problem of greed, we have to have some ethical, values in ourselves. And that ethical, moral values can be inculcated through these educational reforms, through sensitization. As you have said, that, that necessity and greed, these are two different things. So we must, we must understand that thing. Okay. So, but, the point is, I'm talking, when I'm talking about livelihood to all, I am referring to one of the aspects, obviously, but what you are saying, that is also right.
Right. So thank you so much. And I think we're done with queries here. And I just want to say thank you for the way that you've explained throughout the session. Thank you. And at the end, I also want to say thanks to all the participants who have joined us and who have given the prompt responses in the Q&A box. So at last, I also want all attendees to know that this session will be uploaded on YouTube. So you can watch the session on YouTube as well. With this, sir, I would take your permission to wrap the session up now. Shall I?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure talking to you and all.
And thanks to all the participants. So I'm hoping that we meet physically in the university, and if not, then virtually in the next webinar. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you so much for joining in again.